Welcoming guys into my Dallas, Texas 2025 season recap. And you're going to this 2025 season and you're like, what are the Cowboys' main objectives here? Because they've traded away Micah Parsons to the Packers, and Kenny Clark's gone the other way. So ultimately, yeah, your defense sucked in 2024 with Micah Parsons, no question about it. You've hired you've hired Matt Eberflus as your defensive coordinator. Remember what he did at the Colts, and he choked at the playoffs with the Colts. Look what he did in Chicago with Bears football. Now, you put him in this defensive system here with the Cowboys, and without Micah Parsons, they're a lot worse. You traded away a potential you've traded away Michael Parsons, who's 27, 28, in the prime of his career, for Kenny Clark. And ultimately, you get rid of Mike McCarthy, which again, was it time? Was it time to move on? Who knows? But Brian Schottenheimer coming in. I mean, again, you bring him within, which is great, but this is Brian Schottenheimer's first ever head coaching job, and nobody else really wanted Schottenheimer. You were second in the division. You was a 7-9-1 team, tied the game with the Packers, obviously. And the additions you added to this team, like Miles Sanders for a year, Javonte Williams, I thought was a great steal. I think a running back, Javonte Williams, coming in for a year for $3 million was a steal at 25, entering his prime years. At guard, Robert Jones from the Dolphins, not a bad option, but again, you're beefing up that offensive line, which again, I like the approach here. Then you're looking at Hakeem Algier from the Browns, and you're looking at Dante Fowler, defensive end. Peyton Turner, Solomon Thomas, defensive tackle, and you're beefing up that defense. And then Jack Solborn from Bears football, like he did a great job in Chicago. A couple of players that they lost though in the offseason, like Rico Dowdle went to the Panthers, obviously because Rico Dowdle went the other way because Miles Sanders came to the Cowboys. Cooper Rush went to Baltimore to be a backup. Micah Parsons was a big departure. So yeah, you did lose a couple of big names here. Brandon Cooks went to the Bills. And then the draft approach. I did like the draft approach though, going into this year. Like, again, you're going for offensive. You're beefing up that offensive line with Tyler Booker, who again I was a big fan of going into the 2025 draft. Chauvin Reynolds, corner end, and third round, I didn't think was a bad option. Annie Cornelius, offensive tackle from Oregon. They traded away a couple of picks to the Bills, New England, and Cardinals and Titans, and then Shamar James comes in at linebacker position. Jaden Blue, running back. They traded away a couple of picks to the Lions. So it wasn't really a bad draft. But then you look at the schedule here. They have the first game on the road to the reigning defending champions, the Eagles. They lose. Really, it's only a 4-point game anyway, but they lose it up in game to the Eagles. They beat the Giants, lose to Bears football. Beat Green Bay. Tied with Green Bay in overtime. They get a win against the Jets. They lose to the Panthers. Beat the Commanders. Beat the Commanders. Lose to Denver. Lose to the Cardinals. Then they come off the bye week in week 10. Then they lose to the Raiders in week 11. Week 12, they get 3 wins in a row from week 11 to week 13 against the Raiders, the Eagles, and the Chiefs. So you're looking at that's pretty good, rebound here. But they lose to the Lions, which was 44-30 on the road. They lose to Minnesota, and then the Chargers. Then they lose to the Commanders. They beat the Commanders at home, and then they lose to New York in the last game of the regular season. And then you look at the weapons around them. Like, you still have Dak Prescott as your quarterback, which again is decent. He's a good option to have a quarterback. You got CeeDee Lamb. You got George Pickens, who I thought was a great trade. Jonathan Mingo, Cavante Turbin. You got Jake Ferguson, who had a really good season, I thought, in my opinion. And Luke Shoemaker, I thought was a good option on tight end. And Jalen Talbot was a good addition for Dak Prescott. But you really look at it, and their defense was butt last. They were 32nd out of 32nd in the division, and that's, again, you gotta look at that. And they were butt last in the defense. That was behind the fucking Raiders and the Cardinals and both New York teams and the Cleveland Browns. Like, all three teams that are fucking dumpster fires. You're butt last, and here's Jerry Jones trading away Michael Parsons. Yes, the defense was bad with Michael Parsons, but you wasn't butt last in defense last year. I don't think you were anyway. And here's fucking Jerry Jones, who doesn't lack leadership, hasn't got the fucking leadership. It's time to sell up, Jerry. You've not been to a Super Bowl in over 30 years. It's time. You are the 1990s version of the Chicago Bears, living off past glories. You're like the 1990 Chicago Bulls, where, oh, we were good. We had Pippen, we had Phil Jackson, we had all these guys. We're rebuilding, guys. It's America's team, baby. And your butt last year, you had Matt Eberflus as your defensive coordinator playing Cowboys football, baby. And then offense, you were seventh in the league for offense. You're over the salary cap, 31 million over the cap space. So again, the cap space doesn't really matter. It's Fugazi, Fugazi, whatever. You can work around the cap space. George Pickens had over 1,429 receiving yards. Dak Prescott still had over 4,000 passing yards. I think Dak Prescott had a really good season, over 4,000 passing yards. You had Javonte Williams have over 1,000 rushing yards. And ultimately after that, you fired Matt Eberflus, which again was the right decision. You hired defensive coordinator Christian Parker, which again, let's see what happens there. I'm not really, don't know what's going to happen there on the defense. Hopefully you're not going to be butt last, but who knows. Draft-wise, you have a first-round pick, 12th overall. You have two first-round picks, 12th and 20th overall. Then you have a second-round pick, but again, that could be traded to New York. And then you have a third-round pick that could be going to the Steelers thanks to the George Pickens trade. And then you have a fourth-round pick, fifth-round, sixth, seventh-round pick. What do the Cowboys need going into this season? They need to basically get a whole new. They need to get a new defensive line, a whole new defensive line. They have to beef up that defense. The defense has been stinking for way too long. Jerry Jones has to sell the team, but he's not going to sell the team, Jerry Jones. We're going to have AI Jerry Jones. He's going to be like the Al Davis of the fucking Cowboys. But whatever. Yeah, they need a new secondary. They need to beef up the offensive line, especially with the weapons you have around Dak Prescott. Like, you have Javonte Williams, you have Talbot, Ferguson, all these guys, but you're seventh best offense in the league. Make that make sense. Like, you have the seventh best offense in the league when you have all these guys I've just mentioned.